Come on, we gotta go. Go.
Working on Marvel Zombies, it was special and fantastic because the gloves were off.
Yeah, this was incredible to work on as a fan of Marvel, a fan of the MCU, as a fan of zombies, and as a fan of awesome animation. This is Zeb Wells, writer, executive producer, and story by on Marvel Zombies.
Hi, this is Bryan Andrews, executive producer, director, and story by.
No one is safe.
Today we're looking at a clip from episode 2 of Marvel Zombies. It's the tail end of the episode, the finale, you might say, when Namor busts loose. We knew we needed to have Namor because he's just too cool and too awesome. But it's a question of how, and how do we get people at sea? And I can't remember when or how we came up with the concept, but then the idea was, how do we get a bunch of people out in the ocean to get jacked
Yeah.
by Namor? And right, City on the Sea came up.
City of the Sea came up, and we remembered that the raft exists in the sea, and you just started asking ourselves questions. What would have happened? What would have happened? You could tell Bryan when he said we had to get Namor in. I just have to out Bryan as one of the biggest Namor fans I've ever met. I think that was the first comic you read, correct? Namor versus the Hulk.
That was a big epic issue a long time ago. Yeah, I was very young, and it's a very old comic, a very old version. But people forget that Namor is like one of the first heroes Marvel ever really created, along with like I think the Human Torch.
Yeah,
he predates Hulk, and he was immensely strong. I've seen some power meters where people are like, "Oh yeah, Namor can be beat by this guy or that guy," but it's like, no, Namor actually can go toe to toe with the Hulk. I think there was a thing when like the Hulk even acknowledges, you know, I can't beat you unless you're dry.
You think. Right. I think it's committed to your memory, and you've never forgot it.
I've never forgotten it.
But you think.
Yeah, no, he's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
He's pretty brutal, and this gave us an opportunity to explore that, and then have all these other characters just be on the receiving end of some horribleness.
Yeah. And I appreciated that about you, Bryan, is I feel like you had strong takes on each of these characters and a lot of love for them and wanted each of them to get their due.
That's true. And we were trying the best to have people get their due, but, you know, also there are certain individuals that just get aced.
Well, yeah, and sometimes they're due. And it doesn't mean we didn't love the characters if they die. Sometimes that is how you show your love, is because it's going to be gut-wrenching to see them die. Yeah. And that's part of, you want to pick the characters that you really love. It should hurt you as well.
Exactly. Like, not everyone can go out like an epic hero.
Yeah.
Some people just need to get, you know, trashed in the most unsanctimonious way.
And we wanted to keep reminding the audience that was always on the table.
Yes, I think that's important too, because creating that feeling that truly no one is safe and anyone can go at any time in a horrible way was something throughout the show that we wanted to make sure we did. And judging by some of the reactions, I guess we succeeded in that. But yeah.
I think this whole action scene, starting right now, it's another thing that I really loved about working on this, because I was always writing for efficiency and as if we had, like $0 to do this. And so this was a very like A to B action scene. And then that's when you and the team would come in and you'd be like, well, let's stretch this out. Yeah. Let's make this happen. And so here, this became so much bigger than I expected in such an epic way. And I think it started with the Hulk containment unit, and that would allow the other zombies to come in, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. And then the escape pods, and we go to another location.
No, you're totally right. And it's funny too, because the earliest one of the earlier versions of this before we started doing it this way was, for some reason, they were going to escape or bail. I forget what we were doing, but they were going up to the roof, and either it was pouring rain, and I could already imagine it, and either they're gonna escape in a helicopter. I forget like why they were leaving or like whatever it was, but then Namor would be floating up there in the rain, watching them, and they're like, oh no, when they finally get up to the top, they're like, get back down, and then they go back in, and then he attacks, and then he goes down. But for some other reason, some of those elements needed a change. I think some of it was also budgetary or whatever. Like, we don't want to be above the water because we have to animate all that water moving. Yeah, it's so expensive. Anyways, it worked out for the better because it kept it really contained and claustrophobic, and
I think
no escape.
Namor is scarier in that context. Being trapped inside this box with Namor is a lot scarier than seeing him in that wide open space.
Which is funny too, because like when we finally got them out of this room that they're in now, the main raft room, and into the small escape pod vestibules or whatever you want to call it, we on the team, we kept calling it the kill box. It was the kill box. That's where all the death was going to happen. Because instead of taking people out along the way, which I think was one of the earlier concepts we were thinking of, putting it all right here just made it feel more brutal. And it put all the deaths really close together, which then made Namor feel even more unstoppable.
Yeah. I mean, when we get to that point where he's trapped and you guys lighting it red, you know, just making it as scary as possible and dangerous. And like, they're screwed. Like this is...
It's a side boring note, but the reason why all the red lights are on and stay on instead of blinking or flashing is because in animation you have so many different people working at different scenes and different shots. To coordinate the blinking on and off of the light is like so insanely difficult, and I would love to crack that nut, but the team kept telling me, "We can't. It's gonna be a nightmare. You could just leave them on. It's better." Right? I'm like, really? Like, come on. Which is fine, but that's like a side nerd note.
They could have you feel like would have made it even more like
maybe like a little
frantic.
bit of strobing, a little bit of the flashing, even though that is super cliche. And we still get all of the tension, all the drama without it.
Yeah.
But I think a little bit, like a little flicker here and there, I think it would be cool.
Now here's one of those classic comic book conundrums where you spend this time making this guy unstoppable and showing how unstoppable he is, and then you have to figure out how to stop him.
How to stop him.
And I am very proud of what we came up with.
Yeah.
I'm really, really happy with that. I think it glows up Kamala in a fantastic way, and it's just badass.
And true. And adding the extra detail of with what you'll see, I mean, I'm sure you've watched this already, hopefully before you listen to this, but like when he bites down on her hard light, just that added detail of like his bite is strong enough, it's starting to crack through the hard light. Just that little... There's just that little detail. It's based on her, because I figured it's based on her concentration level.
Yeah.
If she is not in the right mind at that one, then there's weakness will show up, right?
Sure.
And that helps us play the drama a little bit, right?
Yeah.
The danger. Because otherwise, it's just like, I'm just cool, and I can put up an indestructible thing, and no one can ever touch it and break it. It's just like, I'm sorry, that's just not...
Yeah, and it helps show the power of Namor.
Yeah, that he really is pretty freaking strong. Kaboom! Yeah.
I'm such it's hard for me because I just wrote this thing, so I'm such a fan of the animation and how it was brought to life, so it's hard for me not to just sit here and gush about what this thing looks like.
Well, thanks, man. We're just trying to make people dig what they're watching, And I forget how early on we were outlining the broad strokes of the sequences, like how quickly we fell into which character was going to die at what time. Was it early on that we realized, Yelena making a sacrifice would be good at this point?
Yeah, and I think it was another character that might have done it at first. And
you're right.
And you understand about these deaths. Yeah, you're showing a character be the coolest the character can possibly be when they sacrifice themselves or take one for the team. And I think this just shows what a badass Yelena is, and how she handles it, like how she takes it.
Totally. She's a trained killer assassin that turned good. So she's kind of like, I've lived enough of a life and I've taken a lot. So I can do this for my dad and for this.
Yeah. And it calls back to the Black Widow movie where she mentions that this would be a good death. That's like sort of something she thinks about and cares about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all that works. And the other thing of landing on the two of them, it gave us a chance to leverage that emotional currency that pre-existed between the two of them. So that, because, these episodes are brief and we don't have a lot of time to really build the emotion as much as we would hope. So having these characters that are coming in with a certain amount of cachet, it's like, okay, let's use that, let's leverage that. And then we kept pushing the emotional aspect of the scene. And then when we got the voice actors in to do it and talk to them about it, they were like, oh yeah, they love to sink their teeth into stuff. Yeah. And when they had this, especially, David Harbour's stuff is amazing.
Yeah, I think their performance and the stuff that viewers bring in from the other movies made this really, really emotional.
Yeah.
I feel this every time I watch it. It's great.
No, it's great. And then left with that last little bit where it's like, oh man, now what? And then, Sean just being kind of like, we're really in it now.
Yeah, we're on board. Let's do this. Thanks for watching and listening.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. We loved bringing you some crazy R-rated zombie Marvel action.
It was just great to watch this thing come to life.